Welcome to Getting Home Sourced with G. Your one-stop shop for all things real estate. Gianno is your go-to guy with over 25 years of experience in the game, serving up the insider scoop on buying, selling, and investing in two of the hottest markets, Las Vegas, Nevada, and Cabo, Mexico. Whether you're looking to score the perfect home, seal the deal on a sale, or dive into the world of international investments, G's got the tips, tricks, and swagger to make it happen. Remember, in Nevada, the smart choice is the right choice. And when it comes to Cabo, you better go oceanside with Cabo G. If you were looking for a quiet, tranquil show about real estate, this ain't it. Gianno has this thing called passion. Let's unleash the beast. This is Welcome to Getting Home Sourced. And now your host, Gianno.
Hey, what do you say? Let's welcome in 2026, everybody. I mean, come on now. Happy New Year to everybody around the world listening to Getting Home Sourced with G. Here we are, folks, our first show of 2026, and I just want to say thank you to everybody. What a great 2025 that we had with the show. Thank you so much for participating. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening in to all the good things that we're talking about here, real estate, and of course beyond. And of course, I'd like to start out by saying good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to wherever you're listening around the world. I hope your New Year's was absolutely spectacular, as mine was, and I was very, very happy to have a fantastic New Year's, and I want to make sure that everybody else had celebrated in the same way, because again, no matter where you are or what you're doing, hey, you know what? We're living, we're breathing, we're moving forward. Fresh new year, fresh ideas, fresh things coming up, changing, everything's taking place, everything's like the speed of light, right? I just feel as though we just kind of time warped through 25, and now look already, here we are 26, and we're already off and running. So I'm sure that you're ready for 2026 like I am, folks, because again, we got a lot of stuff that's going to be happening this year. In the real estate world, worldwide, a lot of things are changing, a lot of new, let's just say, implemented bills and implemented policies are taking place right now that's going to affect different countries and what have you. We'll obviously talk about that when the weeks go on. But to kick off the show, of course, I wanted to give you some numbers. I wanted to let people know what happened in Las Vegas in the United States and the housing market here, as well as Cabo, because I think it's important to understand where these two cities are going and how that might affect international travelers, international buyers, as well as domestic travelers and domestic buyers, because you're going to start seeing a lot more movement taking place in the year ahead. But like I said, going into 2026, look, as much as people keep telling me they're waiting for the crash, I get it. They're waiting for prices to come down and what have you. We'll talk about that in another show, but I'm going to tell you right now, folks, for the cliff note, that's really not going to be happening so much. All the things that are going to be taking place and going on is going to be in the end of the second quarter, beginning of third quarter, because here in the United States with our Fed chairperson, we have Mr. Powell. He's going to be stepping down sometime in May. So President Trump is going to appoint somebody new that he's going to like, that's basically going to do what he wants to do, is drive the interest rates down to stimulate the economy more. But let's see how the mortgage rates follow behind, because again, the underlying factor here is you have a lot of investors buying property, making them rentals. So it becomes more of a rental community around the country as opposed to owner occupied or just having just ownership. So that's where the struggle lies. And then that's why the usual rule of thumb is when the prices go down, interest rates go up. And when interest rates go down, prices go up. Wow. Now, in the last couple of cycles through let's say after COVID 2021, you had it where prices were down, rates were down, and then all of a sudden it went prices up, interest rates up. So now we're going to see how everything's going to fluctuate because now we're walking that, tightrope per se. But when I go through the numbers over here, you're going to be pretty surprised because as was I, it was a pretty down year for real estate, even though the pundits have been saying that real estate really is like a 2019 market compared to all the up and downs that we had between just before pre-COVID, COVID, after COVID, and what have you. So I don't know, you be the judge of that. But starting out with, I want to tackle Las Vegas, the active homes on the market. So as the end of the year, December 31st, 2025, there were 9,460 homes, of which 6,886 single-family homes are active, 1,424 homes, condos active, and 1,150 townhomes are active. So when you put that all together, you have 9,460. Now for solds, these are going back 6 months because our solds here in Las Vegas they don't go back a full year like they do in Cabo. They only take it for the last 6 months to give a better value. So because there's so much, production taking place and movement. So with the solds that have taken place right now from July 1st of 2025 to December 31st, 2025, there were 13,265 total transactions, of which 10,490 single-family homes. And then with the breakdown of that 10,490, 6,151 homes between the price point of 400,000 to 700,000 sold, and then 1,448 homes sold between 701,000 up to $1.5 million. So you can see where the price point is, where that juicy spot is that 400,000 to 700,000 range, getting more activity, right?
Okay, don't get excited.
Now, as far as the condos go, you had 1,290 homes or condos. There were 44 of those that were between 400,000 to 700,000, and then 11 between 701,000 up to $1.5 million. Now with townhomes, we had 1,485, whereas 327 were between that 400,000 to 700,000 price point, and then 17 between 701,000 to $1.5 million. And here we are talking about U.S. dollars, folks. We're not talking about Cabo just yet. We're just talking U.S. dollars for Las Vegas. Now, with that being said, when we tackle on to the active price points, now you're looking at 4,063, and that number is between 400,000 to $1.5 million, with basically the breakdown of 3,762 single-family homes. The range between that, you're looking at 400 to 700,000. So again, folks, you have 3,762 single-family homes that are active between the 400,000 and the 700,000 price point, 261 townhomes and 40 condos. Okay, that's all on that range between 400 and 700,000. But then when you go between 700 and 1,000 up to $1.5 million, you have 1,370 single-family homes, 23 townhouses, and 25 condos. So what does that all mean? It means that numbers pointing out is showing that there's more buyer activity. Now, again, folks, the numbers that I'm giving you here do not reflect new construction homes and projects, right? This is just resale properties that are on the MLS, which I give to you on my website. So for all those, you know what my website is, www.vegashomesource.com. And of course, you contact me, my toll-free hotline, toll-free G 2026, same as 25, 888-528-2810. And my local, just put the 702 in for my domestic friends, same number, you're good to go. You got to check out the newsletters because I'm always giving information on my newsletters. It's free. Get it out there. Send me your email. Sign up for the newsletter. Come into my website. Go into the newsletter section. Fill in your info. I'm telling you, folks, it's got a lot of information that helps you especially when you're looking to do a foreign investment, whether it be in Los Cabos, Mexico, or if it's going to be in the Las Vegas corridor. You got to know what's going on, and that's my job, is to bring you the up-to-date facts and figures, right? So with the figures over here, it looks like the market will have more properties hitting the market. Like I always say, first month of the year, always every year, that second, third week of January, you're going to have an influx of properties that are going to hit the market. So, of course, these numbers are now going to get a little bit increased. I would say by 8 to 10%, because normally sellers that are about to sell or that have to sell, want to sell, whatever their reasoning is, what are they always doing? They're talking to their attorney, they're talking to their accountant, they're talking to their financial advisor and saying, hey, okay, where are we at? What do we got to do? And let's just make it happen. So you're going to see the new listing of sellers. That's going to obviously go up in all factors. And then they have to decide, what's going to be happening. Because a lot of times people that had active properties in the market that didn't sell, two things happened. The listing expired out or it got withdrawn. They just said, you know what, forget it. We're just not going to do it. And we'll just be open to renting. And then we'll just figure it out next year, right? So, but now again, people keep asking me, are we going to have a housing crash? And I keep telling people, at least in Vegas, the answer is no, because here in Vegas, it's a different animal compared to, let's say, areas in Florida, Miami, Orlando, Tampa, where there's been an exodus out of there. So you're starting to see prices go down fast. We talked about that on previous shows with what's going on with the assessments, with the HOA fees, all these old condo buildings that were built in the 80s that are having maybe some sinking issues. They have to address that. They have to put money into these buildings, and now sellers are stuck trying to sell their condo units or what have you, or their co-ops, and now nobody wants them because they realize the buyer that's going to come in, especially with these older buildings, they're going to get stuck with assessment fees and HOA fees, and that's a big headache down there in Florida right now. But
all right, I'm going down to Ludwig's office. I'll find out if you're telling the truth.
Hopefully, we'll see what happens in 2026. But before we continue on, I want to take a quick commercial break. And again, happy 2026.
Are you looking for a national and international realtor for your real estate needs? Are you in the market to buy, sell, invest, renting, or leasing? Do you need someone that handles residential, commercial land across the globe? Well, here in Las Vegas, Gianno is in your backyard where he covers Nevada, Arizona, and Mexico. Gianno can help you directly, but wait. If you are outside Gianno's border crossing, Getting Home Sourced has you covered. Because with our partnership group, Gianno is connected worldwide, but not only throughout the US, but like your Visa card. Gianno is everywhere you want him to be. So don't be shy. Call him, email, or even text as he answers the phone every day all day. Then guide you to his partners, because remember, at Getting Home Sourced, Gianno is the source of the source.
Hey, what do you say? What do you say? Thank you so much for sticking around on the back half of our 2026 edition of what? It's a 2026 show. What else are we going to call it? We're opening up the new year. We're just giving some chock full of nuts. We're giving data. We're giving stats. We're giving all the information that needs to be had, because at the end of the day, it's important for people to understand really what's happening and what's going on. So now, again, we ended off by saying, is there going to be a housing crash in Vegas? No, that's not going to happen. This isn't 2008 where the banks took on all these mortgages and what have you, and then get stuck, and then everybody just bounced out, ran away. That's not happening this time around, folks, and that's where I think people get confused. Now, do I hope to see the mortgage rate go to the 5.5 range by July? I think that's a great opportunity. I think realistically, that's a great shot when the new Fed chair comes in.
That would be an amazing thing if that happened.
That's going to set not only the federal rate, but I think with the mortgage rate, if they can somehow be in line, even though they're usually not, and that's where people get confused. I talked about that on my shows this past year, where don't worry about what the Fed rate does, because the mortgage rate, they're kind of like brother and sister or cousins, but they do their separate thing. They're not really intertwined with each other so much. But I have a feeling that this year, because everybody's talking about affordability, everybody's talking about, getting into a property and buying, and how are we going to figure this out? The rates are too high, and the prices are everything's too high, right? So if they bring it down and hopefully see the rates come down and maybe even prices come down with it, I think that'll be tremendous. I think that resets everything. That will stimulate the economy here in the U.S. And of course, when things get stimulated here in the U.S., it also affects Canada. It also affects Mexico, our neighbors to the north and south, to see what's going on, right? But I do think that going into 2026, it's going to be an overdrive. We're going to be coming out of the gates hot and heavy. There's going to be a lot of stuff thrown at us. There's going to be a lot of things that we have to compensate and make up for really a lackluster 25. So 26, they're going to try to chase everything in the next 5 months, really 5 to 6 months. So you have to be on your toes. You have to be, careful of what's out there, what's going on. Again, we talk about, international policies, travel, how it's going to be for Europeans or Middle East or Southeast Asia or Asia, wherever you're living, going into, let's say, the U.S., as opposed to U.S. people flying into other foreign and international countries, right? So we have to be mindful of what's going on. How's that all going to play a role with people traveling, whether it's for vacation, for business, maybe relocation? So we don't know about that. So there's going to be a lot of changes coming up, obviously, here in the next few weeks to kick off the year. But like I said, for those that are looking to buy and you're still on the fence and what have you, I'm telling you right now, guys, it's really important. You really should reach out, email me, tell me what your situation is. Let's put a game plan together, whether you're looking to buy to relocate somewhere else or you're looking to sell so you can buy another property or have an investment property. There's going to be great opportunities still for buyers throughout the country, really, here in the U.S. Also in Cabo, because sellers are still at the mercy of the buyer because the buyer is having the leverage right now. So this is where, as a buyer, you really have to get off the sidelines and get into the real estate game and know what you want and put your action plan together. That's why I always say to people, talk to your accountant, talk to your attorney, talk to your financial planner, your wealth advisor, whatever you want to name it, and really have a deep conversation on where you want to go and what you want to do, because the time is now. I'm going to tell you, folks, come summertime, it's going to flip-flop, because then when it becomes about more inventory in the market, because now sellers feel good about, hey, look, I had a 3% mortgage back in 2019, and I don't want to sell my house and have a 6% mortgage, so I'm going to at least wait for it to get down to 5.5 or 5 and make it decent. Okay, that extra 2% I could deal with. That's why a lot of sellers are going to be like, where am I going to go? Unless they're going to be able to take their capital gains, their equity, and buy a house cash, or at least put like 80 to 90% down or half down, and then they can still finance it, right? So that's what we're going to be seeing here coming up in 2026. But like I said, right now, I want to talk about Cabo because I want to show you the difference of what's going on in Cabo, because the Cabo market is very interesting, because now the numbers that I gave to you in Vegas, like the same thing about Cabo, they don't cover the new construction. And there's a lot of new construction for both homes and condos, and that's the most important right now. But at the end of the day, Cabo has now kind of had that little slow, they had the big rush, let's say. So 22, 23, 24, and then the first half of 25, it was like gangbusters. Everybody was rushing down. Now they're realizing, okay, now we're going to take a deep breath. Obviously, world's changing in a lot of ways. So now it's like basically a TV timeout. They're reassessing, and now they're realizing that, hey, we're not going to really overpay for things, and now we're going to be smart and picky buyers and deciding to where what the value is. And that's what I talk about. It's creating value. What kind of value do you want when you're buying basically a foreign investment, right? So now with Cabo, for instance. So the Cabo on market goes back a year. So based on a 1 year as of basically January 1st of 25 to 12/31/25, they had 2,220 homes and condos. Now, from that 2,220 active homes, both houses and condos, we had 940 that were between 300,000 to 1 million. That's cash, US dollars. And then that's for condos. Houses, 590 homes between 300 up to a million. And then on the million and up, we had 458 homes on the market and higher. And then for condos, 232 priced at a million and higher. So you have 1,530 properties between 300,000 and a million. Okay, and that's pretty good. Okay, considering that for a year out. Again, a lot of times it takes time for people to figure things out, and you have to remember, take into consideration, folks, that with Cabo primarily being a cash market, with really no financing yet. We'll talk about that soon. But for right there, you're looking at about a 3 to 4 month closing. So when you look at that, you push that out, really you think about a home closing per quarter. That's 4 homes closing in a year. So that's actually a good solid number when you're talking about that, right? Because it doesn't take a week cash buyer, hey, I'll close in 2 days. That doesn't happen down there, right? It goes through a process. We talked about that before, and I'll get into that again soon too. But again, properties, again, 690, a million and up for the houses just goes to show you that with everything going on, Cabo is still a vibe area. And again, I'm not even talking about, if I talked about new construction, folks, we're going another probably 1,000 units that take a 2-year construction time to build, folks. So again, please keep in mind, because I had a couple of people when I met down in Cabo when we were touring and closing on properties. This was like from 2 years ago or from a year ago. My year ago people are going to be closing at middle end of this year, and my 2 year ago just closed when I was down there, right? So now for the solds in the calendar year 2025, there were a total of 1,360 homes closed. 640 of those were homes, 720 were condos. And again, this is based on resale. So that tells me that we're going to have a strong, not only new home inventory market, because now a lot of these projects are going and building out the spec. So you're not going to have to wait that 2 year period, maybe a year, but definitely not 2 year unless they're just coming into the market and they're taking reservation lists and then go from there. But for that 2 year period, that's why a lot of people are looking for resale. They want to get in right away. They don't want to wait. But I will tell you, on the flip side, it's important to understand what the total withdrawn, the expired, the cancels, and the pendings are, because it kind of dictates what's going on down there. So again, in a calendar year, 85 were withdrawn, 525 expired, 3,095 were canceled, and 160 were pending, equal 3,865 total properties between January 1st to December 31st, right? And those are houses. Okay, so you had that much, let's just say for argument's sake, under 3,900 of those combined properties that were on the market that fell out. Okay, so that tells you if you add that extra inventory on, and if those happen to close, you had a stronger push. Now, for the condos, for instance, you had a total of 1,535, where 140 were withdrawn, 730 expired, 610 canceled, and 155 pending. Now, those, when I talk about the pending numbers, it could either fall through or it could close, but it's important to add that in because it's still not a sold and it's not an active because it's already pending and going through the process of hopefully getting closed, or it might be getting financed, or who knows, the seller might be carrying. We don't know what that situation is. But when you add that up all together, it's funny. It actually equals 5,400 total properties on the nose. So what does this all mean? It means that in 2026, the sellers are going to be cutting deals, okay, because they see that their homes are not moving. When you talk about the withdrawals, you talk about the expireds, you talk about the cancellations, that's bad, folks. Something's going on to where either the seller's not working with the buyer, or something's going on where they can't figure out the terms. And what does it usually come down to? Of course, price, right? A lot of sellers are overpricing property. It gets stuck. They can't do anything. And the realtor says, hey, I can sell you gold at, 100 an ounce when it's, 4,000 an ounce. And that's not realistic, folks. So you have to be mindful of how you're buying and also who you're working with, both as a listing agent and as a buyer's agent. And that's why it's important to bring these numbers to everybody, because I want people to understand that, again, in Cabo, for instance, it takes a long time to sell a property, but it also takes a longer time to list it. Because if I take a listing agreement with somebody, let's say, the middle or end of January, that property, the earliest that might get sold, cash closed, done, title, deed over, the buyer is now the rightful owner and everything's documented and recorded, that could take around March or April, right? So that's how long it is. So now if I have people waiting to get into a property and I'm taking a listing, it could be at least a year before I get a closure because it's going to take somebody that long period of time to put an offer in where they're having other choices because why? It's about value. Okay, that's what we circle around to. So in the United States, for instance, we're going to see more inventory. Like I said, that's going to hit the streets because you're going to probably see a lot more probate. You're going to see a lot more foreclosure. People are defaulting. We talked about the auto industry. We talked about all these car loans. Cars are dropping in value. Look, folks, people that either are financing a car or basically, let's say it's financing. They're financing a car because if you bought it outright, you're probably upside down, depending upon what kind of car you got. Leasing, if you lease, then you're pretty much safe because after 2 to 3 years, you're getting rid of it anyway. But for those that are financing, where the value of the car dropped, a lot of people walking away from those payments, that dings your credit. And now you're going to get some type of derogatory. And now you're going to start seeing a lot more cars on dealership lots because now you have that, REO problem with the auto industry. And now cars are getting repoed. So you got to watch the underlying stuff to see what's going on with people. That will affect mortgage payments. And then people don't start paying their mortgages. Now it starts going into default. And then there you go. Now we're tacking on bills, and then people are going to lose their home. And it's unfortunate, but this is going to happen here in the next 5 months if people can't figure it out. And sometimes it's best to save yourself, sell your property because you're basically keeping your credit intact. Use that strength because your credit is your strength to move forward. Kind of consolidate, try to pay off all your bills that you can. You start fresh because then, folks, by the middle end of 26, it's going to be a totally different ball game here. And 25 is going to be like ADD. We're going to forget about it. We're not even going to know it exists. So just hang in there because the supply chain is going to grow. There's going to be opportunities. And it's important to let people know that with my crystal ball, I'm telling you right now, everything starts to take shape June forward. June, July timeframe, boom, we're off and running because that's when everything's going to reset itself economic-wise based upon the changes that the United States government's going to make, especially with the Fed chair, and that will also dictate the lines with mortgage interest rates. So that's really where it's at, folks. So for the next 5 months, buyers, if you're ready to go, make the move now, especially with Cabo. If you're ready to buy, cash is king. We all know that. But you're in the driver's seat because a lot of these sellers, they have to realize that it's not in their favor. They have to play ball. They have to give those concessions. What are those concessions? Drop the price, pay my closing costs. Maybe if you're getting financing, you have to help contribute to buy down my mortgage rate as a buyer. Maybe you have the cost of repair items that you have to fix. There's a lot of things that are out there that buyers still have to hold on to that have leverage in moving in. But if you don't know how to go about doing it and you don't have a realtor that's giving you these really advice and important, crucial information right now going into 2026, you got to stop listening to the noise, folks. Forget about the noise. It's not there. I'm telling you right now, you're going to start seeing more property online. You're going to see the rates stabilize in the U.S. It's going to be around that 6% range. And then eventually, when we start getting deeper into the year, then you'll start seeing some uptick and some changes. So, again, I'd love to be able to talk to you. That's why we're here. That's what the show's all about. It's about me giving you, being of service to you. I hope the information helped you. I hope that we're kicking off 2026 here, folks. It's going to be a strong year. It's going to be great. We have to make it great because 25 was awful. Let's just face facts. But we have to make 26 great. We want to make sure that everybody changes in the air. Good things are happening. We leave the negativity behind, focus on the positivity, and things that come forward. Everything that is going on behind the scenes in most countries, in government, trust me, folks, all this stuff is going to be made present. It's all going to be revealed. A lot of things in 2026, things are going to reveal itself. I'm telling you, I see it, I feel it, and I know it. So on that note, love you guys. Thank you so much for listening. Happy 2026 year. Again, you know how to contact me. 702-528-2810 for my domestic friends, my toll-free friends, my international friends. I love you guys. Thank you so much for listening. Tell everybody to listen to the show. We want to get more participation, new faces, new voices, new emails. And for those, please reach out. I'm here for you to help you and guide you along the way, because 2026, again, things that have been kept behind closed doors will reveal themselves. That I promise you. So on that note, God bless. Take care. Talk to you soon.
That's all, folks.
You have just listened to Getting Home Sourced with your radio host, Gianno Buonaguro. This podcast is a registered trademark and may not be reproduced without the express written consent of VegasHomeSource.com. For additional information about buying, selling, or investing in real estate, call or text Gianno toll-free at 888-528-2810 or visit his website at VegasHomeSource.com. Thank you for listening, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.